Well, friends, welcome once again to our third session on the chapter salaries. Uh, Already gratuity part is over. Then leave encashment, pension, all these things are over. So we'll come today. Then we'll do one thing. Let us quickly recapitulate that thing. Then we'll start from that part. Retrenchment compensation. From that onwards, we are going to learn it. Going to share the screen with you. As you already know, in this chapter, broadly we'll be dealing with these three sections 15, 16, 17. In addition to that, some of the provisions of section 10 also we'll be learning. Various concepts we have already discussed on salary. Employer-employee relationship is important, we know. A tax calculator, use of tax calculator in the context of salary, and how to compute tax under new tax regime and old tax regime, all these things we know. What constitutes salary, all these items are included in salary, that also we have seen, we know that thing. How gratuity will be taxable in this chart also we know, right? On continuation of service, if gratuity is received, it is fully taxable. On death, it is received, if it is fully exempted. If gratuity is received on termination of service, that means at the time of retirement, treatment will be different for government employees and non-government employees. Government employee, it is fully exempted. For non-government employee, if they are covered under Gratuity Act, three limits are there. If they are not covered under Gratuity Act, another three limits are there. Lowest of those three limits are exempt, remaining amount is taxable. These are the limits we had already discussed in our earlier classes. Okay, this is one more limit for non-government employees. You can refer to those recorded classes. Leave encashment, you know what is that. Employee sometimes are eligible to encash their leave. Treatment will be like this. On continuation service, it is fully taxable. After death, it is fully exempt. But however, if leave encashment money is received on termination of service, then treatment is like this. For government employees, it is again fully exempt. For non-government employees, there are four limits. Lowest of that thing is exempt, remaining amount is taxable. These are the four limits which we had discussed in our earlier class. Not only we had discussed, we had solved some questions also. Treatment of pension, that also we have discussed. Commuted pension and uncommuted pensions, treatment will be different for different kind of pensions. This chart shows the treatment of pension. Uncommuted pension is fully taxable. Pension received after death by legal heirs of the employee, so that is called as family pension. So that is fully taxable, but under the head income from other sources. And commuted pension for non-government employees and government employees, treatment will be different. For government employees, it is fully exempted. For non-government employees, treatment will be given like this. If he receives gratuity, 1/3 is exempt. If he doesn't receive gratuity, half is exempt. We had also solved some questions under this pension head. Relief, we know, because if some cases someone receives arrears of salary or advance salary for more than 12 months, then he is eligible for relief under section 89. How to calculate it, we have covered. So do you have any query up to this? Otherwise, we'll start from here. Retrenchment compensation, we are going to start. Any query you have up to this?
No, sir.
Well, so we are going to start now. Retrenchment compensation. You know, retrenchment compensation means the employee is retrenched by the employer. That means employer is removing the employee from the job, and employer is supposed to give some compensation. And what is the tax treatment for that compensation, we are going to learn. So as you already know, as we are already discussing, this is the compensation for cancellation of contract of service by the employer. Employer from his side is cancelling the contract of service. It is the compensation for loss of service. Employee is losing service for which this compensation is given. Now, you have to see the treatment with reference to section 1010B. retrenchment compensation received under any scheme approved by central government. If central government has approved the scheme of retrenchment and as per that scheme compensation is received, the treatment will be, what will be the treatment? Can you tell me?
Fully exempted.
It will be fully exempt. So retrenchment compensation received under a scheme approved by central government is fully exempt. But if it is received under any other scheme, the treatment will be like this. Section 10(10)(b) provides three limits. So as usual, lowest of that thing will be exempt. The remaining amount will be taxable. Now we have to see what are these three limits. Okay, these are the three limits. If this compensation received at the time of closing down of the undertaking shall be exempt under section 10(10)(b), list of the following. First one is how much actual amount received. Second is statutory limit of 5 lakh rupees. Third one, amount calculated as per section 25(f)(b) of Industrial Dispute Act. How to calculate? How to arrive at that amount? That amount is 15 days average salary for each completed year of continuous service or a part thereof exceeding 6 months, computed on 26 days per month basis. This concept, how to calculate this part, I had explained to you at the time of when we were learning this gratuity. Is it not? Yes or no? You have to calculate 15 days salary for each completed year of service or a part thereof exceeding 6 months. Suppose someone has completed 27 years and 9 months. How many years will take here?
27 years.
27 years and 9 months.
Years.
28 years.
28 years. That's why it's saying for each completed year of service or a part thereof exceeding 6 months. 9 months exceeds 6 months. So that will be also considered 1 year. 1 year, right? Okay, and how this 15 days salary will be computed? The salary will be considered, that is monthly salary will be considered as if that is 26 days salary. So monthly salary divided by 26 into 15 will be computing like this. So least will be exempt. Okay, so I think it will be better if you do an exercise right now on retrenchment compensation. I'm going to share an Excel file with you. Now please have a look. Are you able to see this Excel file?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You remember the limits? Okay, let me tell you. Let us say salary of last 10 months, average salary you have to compute. Last 10 months salary is this much. Okay, so average salary is 10,450. We can find it out. I will remember that this thing limits. Limits. Let me repeat you. What are the limits? Actual amount is it. Statutory limit of 5 lakh rupees. Next amount is 15 days salary for each completed year of service or a part thereof exceeding 6 months, computed on 26 days per month basis. Okay. Okay, have you remembered?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now let us see how to compute. First, you see 10 month salary is here. We'll arrive at what is the average salary. Next step, what we'll do? Let us say completed year of service is 30 years and 6 months. 30 years and 6 months, how many years will take?
31 years.
30 years will take, because 6 months is not exceeding 6 months. And let us assume the retrenchment compensation he has received and not under central government approved scheme is how much? 12 lakh rupees. So you have to find out what are the limits. First, you see actual limit is 12 lakh. Second is statutory limit is 5 lakh. Third thing is the 15 days salary for 30 years. You might be thinking how to calculate. Average salary already you know. What is the average salary?
10,450.
10,450. Okay. How to calculate 15 days salary? This is the average salary for month. That means this is for 26 days. So per day divided by 26. You can have a look. This cell be 15 divided by 26. Okay. Then 15 days salary into 15. Okay. Then for how many years? For 30 years. For every year this much. For every year 15 days. Okay. Into 30. If you calculate, you see this is the amount is coming 180865. This is what we have done. Okay. Or to put it differently, what is the monthly salary? 10,450. Right. Divided
Yes,
by
sir.
26.
Yes, sir.
Divided by 26 into 15 into 30. Okay, this figure should be like this. You see 180865. Are you getting? So how much will be exempt? Minimum of this thing. So minimum of these three things is exempt. So what is exempt? 180865. So how much is taxable now? So 12 lakh is receipt. This much is exempt. So 12 lakh minus 180865. How much is taxable? 10,19,135. Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
The limits are, what are the limits? Can you tell me?
One is 5 lakh and statutory amount is 5 lakh.
Okay. Then other limits,
The actual amount and 15 days salary based on salary. Sorry, last drawn for each year of service
yeah, 15 days
or part
salary.
thereof in
Yeah.
Considered as 26 days.
Okay. So I think you can compute the exemption and retrenchment benefit. So now we'll move forward. Next, we are going to learn about VRS. Have you heard of VRS? What is VRS? Have you heard of
Yes,
this?
sir.
What is this? Who can tell me what is VRS?
Voluntary
Oh.
retirement scheme.
Settlement scheme.
Voluntary retirement scheme. Sometimes employees opt for this scheme voluntarily. They take employment, take retirement. They may receive some compensation for that. So let us see the taxability of that compensation. So as you can see from the slide, compensation on VRS is exempt to the minimum of these following two items. Very simple provision. Actual amount received as per guideline. I'll be showing you what is that guideline. And the second limit is 5 lakh rupees. These are the two things. So minimum is exempt. Okay, so actual amount received. So if someone is receiving less than 5 lakh rupees as per guideline, then entire amount will be exempt. Someone is receiving more than 5 lakh rupees, then lowest amount, that is 5 lakh rupees, will be exempt. But here there are certain conditions. First condition is that received from specified employer. It does not mean that I as an individual keep you as an employee and give you, let us say, compensation on VRS. It will be exempted for you to the extent of 5 lakh. Answer is no. It must be received from specified employer. Who are the specified employer? I will be again showing you that thing. Next condition is that the scheme must be framed in accordance with prescribed guidelines in Rule 2BA. So here talking about a specific rule of Income Tax Rules 1962. So we have to see what is this rule. So the scheme must be framed in accordance with that rule. That is point number one. Employer must be specified. Then only VRS amount will be exempted. Actual amount or 5 lakh rupees, whichever is minimum. Okay. And who are the specified employers? If you want to know that, you see these are the specified employers. Can anyone read it?
Companies, central, state government,
Provincial authority.
provincial authority, local authority, cooperative society, specified university, IITs, state government, central government, IIMs, IIFT, any other notified institute.
So only when VRS are paid by these employers, then there is a possibility of exemption. Okay, and VRS compensation received from individuals, HUF, AOP, etc. are fully taxable. There is no exemption from it. Okay, IIT, you know what is IIT?
Indian Institute of Technology.
Okay, what are IIMs?
Indian Institute of Management.
IIFT?
Indian Institute of Fashion and Technology.
No, it's foreign trade.
Foreign trade.
Okay, Indian Institute of Foreign Trade. So these are the institutes who can be specified employer. Now let us have a look at the guideline which needs to be followed. So as you know, the scheme must be framed in accordance with the prescribed guidelines in Rule 2PA. Let us just have a look about this Rule 2PA. Just have an overall idea according to which the scheme needs to be drafted. The objective should be to reduce the number of employees. The vacancy cost not to be filled up. The retired employee not to be employed in any other concern of the same management. Applicable to the employees who have completed either 40 years of age or 10 years of service. Compensation must be following 3 months salary for each completed year of service or salary for remaining tenure. This is to be calculated like this: salary at the time of retirement into balance month of service life. And this exemption will be available once in life. The relief under section 89(1) cannot be claimed here. Okay, salary means basic salary plus DA if it forms a part of retirement benefit plus fixed percentage of commission and turnover. And salary means last run salary. So this is what the scheme specifies. So if an employer is designing a scheme, he should keep all these things in mind. Then only exemption will be possible. I think you got a clear idea about VRS part. Now, friends, we'll move to one more component of salary, which is referred to as annuity. Annuity here means a periodic payment. Normally, it's a monthly payment. Sometimes it can be annual payment. A fixed sum of money flowing from employer to employee, monthly basis or annual basis and periodical basis. Now, you see, treatment will be like this. If it is received from present employer, whether it is received voluntarily or as a contractual obligation, that doesn't matter. If it is flowing, annuity is flowing from the present employer, then it is taxable as salary. If it is received from ex-employer, this is also salary. This will be treated as profit in lieu of salary. This is also salary. If the annuity is received from some person other than employer, for example, maybe insurer, maybe it may be possible that employer has a tie-up with the insurer, that insurer pays something, insurance company pays something. Then between the payee and recipient, there is no employer-employee relationship. Consequently, that annuity shall be taxable under the head income from other sources, not as salary. So only when it is received from the employer or ex-employer, it is salary. Otherwise, it will be taxable from income from other sources. Okay, I think that part is clear, and it is fully taxable, no exemption. Okay, friends. Should I move now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, next element of salary that we are going to discuss is about notice period salary. You might have heard this concept of notice period salary. What happens? Sometimes employer terminates the employee, gives him the notice to vacate the office, maybe for within 3 months, 1 month, like this. Sometimes employee also gives a notice to the employer that he wants to vacate. So whatever may be the situation, if some salary is received for the notice period, that will be treated just like salary. Okay. Okay. Suppose you think of an example. Suppose employer is planning to retrench an employee, is giving him a notice period of 3 months. And even if the employee is not coming to the office, employee is not doing anything, he will still receive that salary. In that case also, that notice period salary will be treated as salary. Employee cannot claim that, you see, I have not gone to the office, I have not worked anything, so that is not my salary, that is some other income. that argument is not acceptable. Notice period salary will be treated as salary and it is fully taxable, no exemption. Well, friends, next concept that we are going to learn is the concept of profit in lieu of salary, which has been explained in section 17, clause subsection 3, clause 2. So this particular section, a particular provision explains what is profit in lieu of salary. You know, salary includes profit in lieu of salary, and all those things will be taxable. Let us see the composition of profit in lieu of salary. As you can see, first item is any compensation due or received from employer or former employer in connection with termination or modification of terms and conditions. Meaning, if some compensation is received from the employer or maybe from the former employer in connection with the termination of employment or modification of the terms and conditions of employment, that compensation shall be regarded as profit in lieu of salary, and which is also part of salary. Second component of profit in lieu of salary is that any payment due or received by an assessee from employer or former employer, any payment received, due or received, but it excludes these things, except these items. These items are specific part of salary on which we have discussed most of these items, but they are not profit in lieu of salary. They are salary itself. Just like gratuity, you know, that is salary. Commuted pension, we have already discussed, that is salary. Retrenchment compensation also we have discussed, that is salary. Statutory PF, public PF, we will be discussing that thing, that forms a part of salary. A recognized provident fund to any transfer of money from recognized provident fund to the extent exempted. So that also forms a part of salary. We'll be covering this part. Approved superannuation fund. That also we will be going to learn. HRA part also we are going to learn. All these things are not profit in lieu of salary. They are in fact a part of salary. Then next item of profit in lieu of salary is that any payment to unrecognized provident fund or other fund to the extent to which it does not consist contribution by the assessee or interest on such contributions. Meaning, assessee or employees' contributions or interest on such contributions are not profit in lieu of salary. But if any payment is made to unrecognized provident fund or any other fund, employer is making some payment to some unrecognized provident fund or other fund, except employees' contribution or interest on employees' contribution, that part will be regarded as profit in lieu of salary. Next, sum received under key main personnel insurance policy, including the sum allocated to bonus. If some money is received under KMP policy, that will be profit in lieu of salary. Any amount due or received, whether lump sum or otherwise by assessee from any person before joining employment or after cessation of employment, those amounts shall also be regarded as profit in lieu of salary. So these are the items you see, which shall be regarded as profit in lieu of salary. Consequently, they are taxable as salary. Okay. I think this part is clear. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, friends, so at this stage we have covered various components of the salary, right? Gratuity, pension, maybe retrenchment benefit, leave encashment, all these things are covered. Now we are going to learn one more important element of salary, which is referred to as allowances. Allowances, as some of you must be knowing, allowances means irrespective of your expenditure, some money employer might be paying to employee. So let us say traveling allowance. That means depending upon some basis. If you travel this many kilometers, you'll be getting this much of money. Your actual expenditure may be less or maybe more. If employer is reimbursing your actual expenditure, then that's not an allowance, that is a reimbursement. But employer is deciding to pay you a fixed sum of money irrespective of your actual expenditure, that is an allowance. Okay. We'll be learning various allowances. First allowances we'll be learning is about house rent allowance. House rent allowance, what happens? Employer gives you an allowance. Whether you are spending less than that or more than that, that doesn't matter. Okay, so allowances are like this. Employers shall pay certain amount of money, some amount of money, and your actual expenditure may be the same amount, maybe more, maybe less. That doesn't matter. So we'll be learning about that allowance part. Now, I have shared the screen with you. Now you see, first, as I told you, these are the amounts received from the employer regularly to meet a particular requirement. It forms a part of salary. It's a fixed quantum of money. Under Section 15, allowances are taxable, excluding few allowances where they're entitled of some deductions, some exemptions, or they're entitled to some relief subject to some conditions. So this is what the meaning of allowance. And if you categorize these allowances, I can categorize them into three broad categories. First one is some allowances which are fully taxable. Under these fully taxable allowances, you see dearness allowance, entertainment allowance, overtime allowance, fixed medical allowance, city compensatory allowance, interim allowance, servant allowance, project allowance, tiffin, lunch or dinner allowance, any other cash allowance, warden allowance, non-practicing allowance, transport allowance to the employee other than physically challenged employee. So all these allowances are what? They're fully taxable.
So what is non-practicing allowance?
Non-practicing allowance are normally given to doctors, not to do private practice. Suppose doctor is working in the hospital may pay him certain money in the form of non-practicing allowance. That means you yourself cannot practice. You have to work for the hospital.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, right. Next is coming to partly taxable allowances. As you can see, two kinds of allowances are there. One is house rent allowance, second is special allowances. Both the things we will discuss. And there are certain allowances which are fully exempt. So allowances to high court judges, allowances to UNO employees, then compensatory allowances received by judge, then sumptuary allowance granted to high court or Supreme Court judges. We'll be discussing that. Allowances granted to government employees for working outside India, that is also fully exempt. So all these allowances we are going to discuss one by one. At that time, we'll be able to understand what is that allowance and about the taxability. We understand. So first allowance we are going to learn is about dearness allowance. You must have heard of this allowance. So many times salary we receive salary plus we receive something called as the DA. DA stands for dearness allowance. Okay, so this allowance is given to meet the increased cost of living. As you must have observed, since prices are rising day by day, things are becoming more and more costly. So employer, in addition to the basic salary, pays a DA, that is dearness allowance. Okay, and this dearness allowance may form a part of retirement benefit, may not form a part of retirement benefit. When I say it forms a part of retirement benefit, that means it is considered for computation of retirement benefits like gratuity, pension, provident fund, etc. If as per terms of employment, this has to be considered for computation of retirement benefit, then you can say it forms a part of retirement benefit. Otherwise, it may not form a part of retirement benefit also. DA you will be receiving, but for computation of retirement benefit, DA will not be taken into consideration. Okay, and DA, whether it forms a part of retirement benefit or does not form a part of retirement benefit, irrespective of that, DA is always fully taxable. Okay, so very simple treatment of DA. DA just if question says DA of this much has been received, then simply you add it to the salary because it is always fully taxable. Okay, did you understand this?
Yes, sir.
You said that if it is forming a part of retirement benefit, then it is taken for computing gratuity, pension, PF, right?
In fact, I told you the other way around. If it is taken for computation of gratuity, pension, PF, etc., then you say it forms a part of retirement.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. So many times you may hear this one. DA will be taken if it forms a part of retirement benefit. How to understand that? You have to see whether as per terms of employment, it is considered for computation of retirement benefit. If it is considered, then DA forms a part of retirement benefit. Okay. Well, friends, so first allowance is over. That is about DA. Now, second allowance, the very popular allowance, that is called as HRA. There are certain exemptions under section 10, 13A. Right. So this is the amount which is paid by employer to meet the expenses in connection with a rent of a house. Meaning, only when employee is paying a rent, these allowances are given for that purpose. Okay. Allowances are given when employer is incurring some rent expenditure. And it is a taxable income. The allowance which is received, that is income, that is taxable. There is no exemption if employee is living in his own house. Employer may still give HRA. There is no restriction whether employee shall give or employer shall give or not. There is no restriction. As employer can still give. But if employee is staying in his own house and is not paying any rent, then no exemption. That means entire amount is fully taxable. Or second part says if employee is staying in a house on which he is not paying any rent, let us say employee is staying in his relative's house, his father's house, where he is not paying any rent, then also no exemption is allowed. Okay, this is the basic condition. So employee must be paying rent to avail the exemption. Now let us see what are the exemptions. You see, these are the exemptions. Okay, what are the exemptions? Can you read the first one?
Actual house rent allowances received.
Actual house rent allowance. First is actual amount. Point 2.
Rent paid over 10% of salary.
Rent paid over 10% of the salary. I find out what is salary, what is 10% of the salary, then what is the rent paid over that. You have to compute. And here the meaning of salary will be slightly different. I will be explaining you what is the meaning of salary for the purpose of HRA. Now, third limit,
50% of salary if house is located at metro, or 40% of salary if located in any other places.
so if the house is located in the metro city means which are the metro cities?
Delhi,
Delhi,
Mumbai,
Mumbai,
Kolkata,
Kolkata, Chennai,
Chennai.
Delhi,
Bengaluru.
Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai. These are the 4 cities will be considering as metro cities. Right. So third floor limit is 50% of the salary if the house is located at metro, and 40% of the salary if the house is located in any other place. Okay, here you have to see the location of the house, not place of employment. There is a possibility that house is located in metro city, but place of employment may be in different city, maybe in non-metro city. Okay, in that case, we have to decide whether this deduction 40% is applicable or 50% is applicable on the basis where house is located. Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
And we have to consider, let us say rent paid over 10% of salary. We have to consider these limits only for the relevant period during which HRA is provided. Okay, let us say HRA is not provided for throughout the year. It is provided only for 6 months. Then we have to consider actual HRA for 6 months, rent paid over 10% of salary for 6 months. 50% of the salary here means 6 months salary, not the year's salary. Okay, so only for the relevant period during which HRA is provided, that period has to be considered. Okay, is it over? Can you remember? Actual HRA. Second limit is rate paid over 10% of the salary. Third point, 50% of the salary if house is in metro, 40% of the salary if house is in non-metro. And 3 limits are there. You have to find out what is the least amount. Least amount is exempted. The remaining amount will be taxable. Now, friends, let me explain you what is the meaning of salary for the purpose of HRA. Salary means your basic salary plus DA if it forms a part of retirement benefit. DA forming a part of retirement benefits will be plus commission as a fixed percentage of turnover. If employee is given certain commission as a fixed percentage of turnover, then only commission will be included. Otherwise, commission will not be included. If DA doesn't form a part of retirement benefit, DA will not be included. So consequently, HRA means only HRA will be computed only on the basis of basic salary. Now, second point, as I have already told you, 40% or 50% depends on place of accommodation, not on the place of employment. Rent to relative. If employee is staying in a relative house and eligible for is paying rent, he is eligible for deduction. Okay, you can pay rent, or employee can pay rent to his father, mother, spouse, anybody. There is no restriction. And salary shall be computed on due basis. Advance salary shall not be included. Expenditure must be incurred. Employer may insist rent receipt for TDS purposes. So employer many times insist on rent receipt, so that will work as an evidence that actually employee is paying. As you know, employees should pay rent. If employee is not paying rent, then he is not eligible for any deduction. He may receive HRA, but he is not eligible for some deduction. Okay. Did you understand? Now here is a question
Yes.
for you. I have to compute the answer. Please have a look at this question. And please read, some of you, I request some of you to read the question first. Can anyone read the question?
Basic salary per annum 3 lakhs. Dearness allowance, which forms a part of retirement benefit 80%. Commission fixed per month 5,000. House rent allowance per month 6,000. Rent paid to his wife per month 7,000. Place of stay Navi Mumbai. Place of employment Mumbai. Employee has taken 2 months salary in advance, that is 50,000. Employee becomes eligible for house rent allowance and receives it from the month of June. Compute taxable salary.
Yeah, I think all of you have understood this. Salary, DA, commission, cleverly it is written fixed per month. Then HRA, rent paid to a relative. You have to apply your mind whether it is allowed or not. Place of stay, cleverly it is written, it is non-metro. Place of employment is in metro. She has taken 2 months salary in advance. That is taxable but not to be included for HRA exemption purpose. Employee becomes eligible for HRA and receives it from the month of June. Compute its taxable salary. First, let us say basic salary. Let me explain you. Basic salary 3 lakh. I think no issue on this. You can take it. DA 2,40,000. He has received. We have to take it as part of salary. Commission, of course, it is a salary. It has to be included. But for HRA purpose, it will be included or not, we have to see. HRA, he has received 60,000. So these three amounts he has received, 3 lakh, 2,40,000, 60,000. Okay, this forms a part of salary, they are definitely taxable. Agreeing with me? Are you agreeing to this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now question comes, HRA he has received 60,000. Okay, HRA 60,000 question has said. HRA per month 6,000 and he is eligible for June. Eligible from June. Okay. So April, May he has not received, consequently he has received HRA for 10 months. So 60,000. Did you understand how 60,000 we have got?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
sir.
It is 10 months HRA, right? Because he is eligible for from June onwards. What is the exemption. First exemption is actual HRA 60,000. Second is rent paid over 10% of the salary. You have to calculate this. How to calculate this? Over 10% of the salary. Okay. How to calculate? Can you calculate? Salary for HRA, how much?
2,50,000.
Why 2,50,000?
Because
not?
50,000 was advance salary.
Why not 3 lakh? Here we are writing salary 3 lakh. Here we are writing 2,50,000. Why?
So he took advance 50,000.
No. Advance is different thing. It's not like that. Salary you have to take for those period for which you have received the HRA. HRA is for 10 months. The salary will be for 10 months.
This is from June.
Okay, advance salary he has received extra in addition to that. Last we will add up that thing. So salary for HRA is 2,50,000. DA will form a part of retirement or not? And DA forms a
Yes.
part of retirement benefit.
Yes.
So DA will be taking. But how much DA? Only for this 10 months. Salary for 10 months is this month. HRA for DA for 10 months is this month. Okay. Commission. Should we take? We should take
Yes,
it.
sir.
You see, commission is not fixed as a part of turnover. Fixed on turnover. Commission is fixed per month. That means even if turnover varies, your commission is fixed. So therefore, commission should not be taken. So as I have already told you, commission will be taken if it is fixed as a percentage of turnover. It is not fixed as a percentage of turnover. It is a fixed amount. So that's why I told it's cleverly written. It is a fixed per month. So salary 2,50,000. DA 2,40,000. This is 10 months. This is 10 months. Commission 0. Right. So total salary is 4,50,000. And what is our third limit? Excess of rent paid over 10% of the salary. So what is 10% of the salary? How much? 4,50,000. What is 10% of it?
45,000.
45,000. Okay. And how much rent paid?
$25,000.
How much?
$25,000.
Rent paid. You please check it. There may be something wrong in this calculations. You please check what is rent paid. How much rent is paid? Actual amount how much?
60,000.
60,000. Then rent paid over 10% of the salary how much? How much it should be? Can anyone tell him? I think I should explain you with the help of an Excel sheet. I think calculations you are missing it. Just give me a moment. Same calculation I am showing here. Yeah, you are seeing it.
Yes, sir.
Salary for HRA. How much you will take? Basic salary 3 lakh. DA 2,40,000. 10 months. Okay, commission 60,000. HRA you have received 60,000. Actual amount 60,000. Rent paid over 10% of the salary. Okay, what is 10% of the salary? What is rent paid? Rent paid how much?
25,000.
Where it is written? In the question. Rent paid 7,000. 7,000 means for how many months? 10 months. Okay. So rent paid is 7,000 into 10 months. How much rent paid? 70,000? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Are you getting? So rent paid is 70,000. And what is 10% of the salary? So 4,40,000 into 10%, how much?
45,000.
Let me say, write it here. %10 of salary. %10 of the salary is equal to how much? 45,000. Okay. Now you say rent paid. How much rent paid?
70,000.
In 10 months you have to take.
70,000.
Let us see the question. Okay, 70,000. It's clear to all of you. Okay, are you
Yes,
getting
sir.
me? Now,
Yes,
next
sir.
point, what will calculate? Excess of rent paid over 10% of the salary.
25,000.
Got it?
Yes, sir.
That's what we have taken. Excess of rent paid. Excess of rent paid over 10% of salary. This minus this is equal to 25,000. Whether all of you are getting it?
Yes, sir.
And the same 25,000 is taken here. So actual amount 60,000. Rent paid in excess of 10% of salary 60,000. Next is 40% of the salary. 40% of the salary, how will calculate? You see, salary you have already computed. 4,50,000. Now let us see 40% of the salary. %40 of the salary, how much? This amount into 0.4. How much?
1,80,000.
1,80,000. Did you understand now?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you see, actual HRA receipt, rent paid over 10% of the salary, 40% of the salary. Out of this, what is minimum? 25,000. Yes or no? So minimum is exempt. So how much is taxable? You have received 60,000. Exempt is 25,000. Taxable is 35,000. Okay. So basic salary is taxable, DA is taxable, commission is taxable, plus out of HRA 60,000 you have received, 35,000 is taxable. Plus you have received advance salary 50,000. That will also be added. So total taxable salary is how much? 6,85,000.
फाइव नंबर क्या है विलियम साहब?
Yeah, did you get it? Yeah, friends, please mute your audio.
ये
Please,
13
please,
है.
please mute your audio, all of you.
सॉरी.
Yeah, are you getting this computation now? Are you getting this calculation?
Yes, sir.
Right? Okay, so this is how it will be computed. Please, I request all of you to mute your audio.
पूरा चेक कर दो.
ये वाला लिखो.
Okay. Now, yeah, friends, one more thing I wanted to show you. This calculation, what I have done it right now, you can do it by using calculators also. Earlier, I had already shown you how to use calculators which are available in the Income Tax Department's website. Have you remember?
Yes.
Now, have you seen? Are you seeing the screen? Google Chrome browser screen. Are you seeing it?
Yes, sir.
You're seeing it. I am taking you to the website of incometaxindia.gov.in. Yeah, are you getting it? Seeing it? Here you see what is written here.
Tax tools.
Tax tools. I had shown you earlier. Again, I am taking you there. You see, tax tools. Here you see, we are looking for house rent allowance calculator. Can you see it here? House rent allowance calculator.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. If you click here, it will prompt you how to do it. You take any example. Let us say basic salary is 6 lakh. DA forms a part of my retirement benefit. Maybe you can say another, let us say 4 lakh. Commission as a percentage of the turnover. Let us say you may take it 0 or take anything. Let me take it 0. HRA receipt. You may say HRA receipt 2 lakh. Let us assume rent paid 1,80,000. Tick if residing in metro. If residing in metro, you can tick. If it's not residing in metro, then don't tick it up. Okay. Now click calculate. It will be calculating and it will be telling you you have received HRA how much? 2 lakh rupees. Out of 2 lakh, you see 80,000 is exempt and 1,20,000 is taxable. So you can check it by what we have learned so far, by your knowledge, whether that is correct. Did you understand now how to use this calculator?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Suppose he is receiving, I will take it here. If he is residing in metro, then calculation will be different. You see, take it here. Now calculate. May be different. No, it's not different. Why it is not different? Because minimum is exempt now. It is also same, irrespective of the fact whether he's staying in metro or not. Thing is same. Because that 40% or 50% criteria is not selected. That's why it is same. Did you understand now how to apply this calculator?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that is an important concept of HRA. Yeah. Now, friends, having covered this, HRA part is clear to you? Have you remembered? Again, I repeat, past limit, actual HRA receipt. Second, rent paid over 10% of the salary. Third, 50% of the salary. If the house is located in metro, 40% of the salary. If the house is located in any other place. On that basis, you can try this answer. Now, friends, we'll talk about various allowances which are fully taxable. That means no deductions, no allowances or low exemptions are there, entirely taxable. Dearness allowance you have already seen. Similarly, fixed medical allowance, the fixed sum of money paid by the employer to employee for medical treatment. Then tiffin allowance, servant allowance, non-practicing allowance given to doctors, hill allowance given to people who are posted in hill areas, warden allowance, proctor allowance, deputation allowance, OT or overtime allowance, other allowance, project allowance, transport allowance, interim allowance. All these allowances are fully taxable. For transport allowance, there is some exemption for physically challenged people. So we'll be learning that thing. Those who are differently able, for them certain exemptions are there. Otherwise, it is fully taxable. Okay, so just have an idea. Look at this slide. Try to understand. All these allowances are fully taxable. We'll be covering all of them. Not fully taxable allowances. Some special allowances are there, and few allowances are there to meet the personal expenditure. Like those things we will be learning. Special allowances includes all these allowances, which are, you can say, partly exempted. Children's education allowance, travel area allowance, hostel expenditure allowance, remote area allowance, compensatory field area allowance, counter insurgency allowance, border area allowance, hill area allowance. Okay.
So what
And
is compensatory field area allowance?
which one?
Compensatory field area allowance. What?
Okay. Okay. So this is a kind of allowance if the employee is posted in field instead of working in the office. As a compensation, certain extra allowance is given to them.
Okay.
Allowances for exemption depends on actual expenditure income. Now we'll be learning a list of allowances where expenditure depends on actual expenditures income. One by one, we'll see. Okay, first, this kind of allowance is travel allowance or transfer allowance. This allowance is given to meet the cost of travel on tour or on transport. Suppose employee is going on tour or employee is transferred from one place to another place. So these allowances are given to him. Includes some paid for transfer, packing, transportation of personal effects. All these are included here. What is exempted? Minimum of actual allowances received or actual expenditure incurred. So whichever is lower, you have to see. If actual amount received is, let us say, 50,000, but expenditure incurred is 40,000, then 10,000 will be taxable. Minimum is exempt, 40,000 is exempt, 10,000 is taxable. Okay, so we'll find out the actual allowances received, actual expenditure incurred, lowest amount will be exempt, remaining amount will be taxable. So this is for travel allowance or transfer allowance. Similarly, daily allowance. Daily allowance is different from dearness allowance. Dearness allowance is fully taxable, but if it is daily allowance, to meet the cost of daily charges, daily expenses, on account of absence from his normal place of duty.
I have a doubt.
Yeah, tell me, please.
Sir, I wanted to know what is actual expenditure. I'm not clear about that properly, sir.
Actual expenditure means expenditure income. Suppose you are an employee and you are transport from one place to another place, right? And employer has given you allowance of 50,000 rupees as transfer allowance. Okay, but you see, you have to ensure that your all the things, you have to go to the new place and your all the personal effect, your furnitures, your equipment, electrical equipment, everything should be transferred. Is it not? You are shifting your house. For shifting, you have incurred the cost of 40,000. That means actual expenditure is 40,000, but actual allowance is 50,000. Is it not? Allowance received is 50,000, but expenditure incurred is 40,000. That was your doubt, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. So out of this, then you tell me how much will be exempt? 40,000 or 50,000?
Sir, is it voucher wise?
Not voucher wise. Some expenditure, you have to give some documents to show the employer that this is what I have income.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So at personal level, you may not prepare any voucher, but you might, let us say you have used a transporter service. So some bill must be there. Okay, you have used, let us say, the movers and packers service. So if that bill is there, that itself will prove and then give an evidence that how much money you have spent. Similar treatment will also be given to daily allowance. Here also actual allowance received or actual expenditure incurred, whichever is lower, that is exempt, and remaining amount is taxable. Conveyance allowance. Conveyance allowance means to meet the cost of conveyance and the performance of duty. While performing the duty, let us say employee is traveling or locally traveling from one place to another place, and an allowance is receiving. Then what will be exempted? Actual allowance received or actual expenditure incurred, whichever is lower. Let us say you have received 1,000 rupees, you spend 800. So 200 will be taxable, 800 will be exempt. Okay. Now here you have to understand that conveyance allowance does not include allowances for coming from residence to office or office to residence. Okay, they are not covered here. That means residence, office, residence are not covered here. We are talking about local conveyance on official duty. Okay, that residence to office and office to residence, those allowances will be talking separately. That is a kind of transport allowance. We'll be talking about that thing separately. Next is assistant allowance or helper allowance. Some employees require assistance or helper service. So organization may not be providing them assistance or helper. Instead, give them allowances that you manage with this money. In that case also, actual allowance received or actual expenditure incurred, whichever is lower, that will be exempted and the balance amount will be taxable. Okay. Did you understand? And this
Yes.
helper allowance, assistant allowance is different from servant allowance. Okay. Same treatment will be for this allowance: professional development allowance, training allowance, research allowance, academic allowances. Here treatment will be actual allowance received or actual expenditure incurred, whichever is lower will be exempt and the remaining amount will be taxable. Uniform allowance, actual amount received, actual expenditure incurred, whichever is lower is exempt and balance money will be taxable. You have to keep in the mind, uniform allowance is different from dress allowance. Dress allowance treatment will be different. Okay. Now, friends, we have understood this. So what we'll do, we'll stop here today. Next class, again, we'll quickly recapitulate all these allowances, what we have learned right now, specifically those allowances which are partly exempt, partly taxable. Then we'll do an exercise on that. Then we'll move ahead. Okay, it's okay. Do you have any specific query? Then let me know right now. Otherwise, we are going to wind off.
Sir, I had a question. In the profits in lieu of salary, the third point is not clear to me.
What is that third point? What was that?
So just a second. Any payment to unrecognized PF or other fund to the extent to which it does not consist of
Okay,
contribution.
this point means, let us say, employer is paying to an unrecognized provident fund. Means a provident fund which is not recognized by income tax department. Employer is paying, or to any other fund. Employer is paying. Why he is paying? He is paying, in fact, for the benefit of employee. Okay, employer is paying for benefit of employee, so that will be treated as profit in lieu of salary. But this does not include any contribution by the assessee or interest on such contribution. Let us say employee is also contributing. That is, assessee here means the employee. Employee's contribution is not a salary because the employee is paying his own money, no. And interest on such contribution, that is also not a salary. Apart from that, if any payment is made to unrecognized provident fund or any other fund, that is profit in lieu of salary.
Okay, sir.
Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
This will be I think it will be further clarified when you'll understand the provident fund provisions. At that time, I think you'll be able to understand it better. Okay, friends, thank you very much. We'll catch up some
Thank you,
other
sir.
time, next class. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.